let me round off this with a little bit of discussions. And so I make my own reflections since I started with IoT probably 10, 12 years ago or so. And I find it quite amazing that today, what we listen to today is great examples of how mature the whole idea of IoT has become. Because in the beginning, everything was kind of lousy and it was bolted together in one single product from one single kind of vendor. So you just had to try to find somebody who solved all your problems, and then you were in the hands of that kind of vendor. Today, all of those companies we looked at today, and I would argue every single successful company in IoT today, they are completely modular. They do something which they're good at, and they are open in all ends, basically, to all the others. So you can integrate whatever you do. Like Stefan has a solution, which is the beauty of that is it's a completely self-sustainable product. You can throw it out in an hour, but if you want it integrated to whatever enterprise systems and so forth you have, it's quite easy to do it with an integration through an API. So that's a much more modular type. Before you had to have your own screens and so forth. So I think, and the sensor development is also become modular. There's some fantastic sensors today. And before they just had to develop not only the sensors, but all the packaging and all the way up to the kind of mainframe. So the whole thing has become much, much more modular. And with that, or behind all of that, are the overall platforms, the big ones, which takes care of all those really difficult scaling problems when it comes to, sending software out to devices or security or device management, and all those kind of things has also become taken care of by the major vendors of large platforms. So I think we are ready for what we call massive IoT rollouts. That I really think so. And then, by the way, and the networks has also changed. Every single version of every single network technology has been upgraded the last 2 years. Going from to 5G in that space, the new versions of Wi-Fi, the new versions of everything. And by the way, IKEA and some other major companies have made their bet on a technology for in-house devices. And they are commercially pushing that envelope forward. So I think we can even see soon very scalable collaborating solution in homes and buildings in another way than before. So is this something you share, you guys? Because you are part of all of this. Stefan, no, you do, because you have had your own solution before. You have gone through that perfectly. Daniel, what do you see from your side?
No, this is definitely this is our whole, sort of backbone of being generic and being an infrastructure platform to allow for any kind of AI model, because what we see is often, edge AI is one trained model, or what I call a one-trick pony, that will solve one or a few, problems, but that's not the way it's going to look like in the future, or now even. You want to be able to update your models dynamically, quickly, add more, subtract more, update them, and then you need a completely different infrastructure for that. And that will reflect both on the software side, but also on the hardware side, on the APIs, the integrations, et cetera. The whole food chain has to work that way.
If anyone listening have some questions or opinions of this, please just put something on the chat. More than happy there. So it's, by the way, Daniel, I happen to know that you worked with Anticimex. Yes, what do you think about the rat detection solution from Australia? Wouldn't that be useful?
Yeah. I mean, that is exactly what we built. We built the backbone. It's all based on IoT. So what it allows you to do is to move, change your whole business model. And that's the other thing. And your customers are getting better protection, and the pest control companies are making more money. So it's a win-win.
Yeah. And Bart, I mean, you are really in that corner as well, as far as I understand. Your sensor is spectacular, but it fits into almost anything with little or more integration, obviously. But it is so it's kind of a market. The sensor market is a market by itself. The connectivity market is a market by itself. Everything becomes a fully working market, which is great for customers.
It is. I think so. Yes. On the other hand, there's also quite a few customers who are getting a bit lost because there are so many sensors and there are so many platforms. So then it is obviously our job to provide them this solution. And I think so let's say in the end, we deliver a very clever, smart component. But what customers need is, let's say, an aggregate set of data, which is useful and that they can work with. And this, I think, also with a couple of people on the call today, this is what we need to do together, right?
Yeah.
Because if you look into the market, so we're also doing quite a few or quite some business in the smart building industry, and therefore customers, it's very, very difficult to purchase a full solution, because in the end they need to purchase then, let's say, 3 solutions which are not connected to each other. They are stuck with multiple SaaS fees on top of each other and not really bringing the insights, let's say, at one level that they're looking for. And this is, for example, why we are so excited to be in the rodent control, because first of all, there's no real competition for us, and we have something very special. And we are there actually let's say, probably the one-stop solution for the surveillance of these, let's say, little animals.
Okay. Yeah, but an important part of the definition of deep tech is that because we have all the technology we kind of need, we can start on the real problems. So I think this is actually supporting that notion. So we have a problem with rats in our barn. That's the starting point. Where do we go to find somebody who can detect the rat? So I think you could very well be the natural kind of starting point, but then you have to sort out the rest, how that data ends up in the middle of the and so forth. So I think that is, to me, the definition of an ecosystem. It's not that somebody like before IBM said, we take care of this, and then they sorted everything. We are not there any longer. We are building something where, the customer will end up at Daniel or How or Stefan or wherever, and you all have to play with the ecosystem to put together a solution. It's very easy to say, very hard to do.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you fit well into this description?
I completely agree. And I mean, as you said, the solutions are there, but how can we assure that what we offer is exactly the customer what they want? I mean, we try to offer them more opportunity, more data, but actually the customer, they don't just want data for data. They want information. And even more, they want executive information. So all the information is buried, is hidden in an ocean of data. How do we get this information out and convert this information into some actions, tell them what to do? And that's what they want. Yeah. And then, of course, this requires collaboration between different technology, different platform, even different segments.
The whole ecosystem is quite amazing, because everybody talks about it and very few makes it work. Most ecosystems that I see still are people who change or rename their purchase system or purchase arrangement into, and they call it an ecosystem, but behind the hood is the same. But that's completely different. It's actually exactly not that. It is all about peer-to-peer collaboration in any ways or form. Nobody's really in charge. You are in charge of your own customer and so forth, from difference between the different locations. I think this is very interesting times, and maybe we could talk also about connectivity, because Stefan, I know you just had a quite recent experience on how much easier it's becoming to provide connectivity. And if you haven't looked at that, guys, take a look at what's called TIoT. I think that's a very interesting announcement recently from Deutsche Telekom about what is happening to global connectivity, where you basically put connectivity towards the product and not as a single service. Is that something that's similar to what you've been experiencing, Stefan?
Yeah, I mean, when we started with the NB-IoT solutions, it was like you have one operator and they serve one country. That's it. But our products, we want to launch them everywhere without having to exchange any SIM cards or eSIMs or whatever. We want them to just be working in any country. So we have cooperations with Telia, Telenor, Deutsche Telekom, and some other companies, and some of these companies are a bit more ahead, so to speak, and have really taken the lead in global roaming, even for NB-IoT. For just talking to people on a standard phone, that's no problem. That works, right? But for NB-IoT or LTE-M, it seems to have been quite a problem until it seems like someone just takes care of it and fix the solution for this. And then it just happens. It's very strange, I think, that some companies can just do it and some other just say, oh, we'll see. So that's why we are looking for new companies to work with, operators, so to say, to solve this for us.
There is an interesting operator, quote, called One NCE, that was started a couple of years ago, basically from Deutsche Telekom, and they've been speaking at our anniversary events before, but they just had one product. They said, we send you connectivity for 5 years to a fixed price. And we don't even say which technology it's going to be. We make sure you have a technology. And I think that is the way we're going. When we buy a device in the future, many of them will the connectivity is included. You don't have to pay or have subscriptions yourself with any operator and so forth. So that field is easing up and changing a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, I shouldn't try to kill time here. So I think unless anybody else have anything of interest to say, do that now, please, because otherwise we thank you to the speakers and to the audience, and have a good rest of the day.
Thank you, Magnus. Always interesting.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Take
Thank you,
care.
Magnus. Thanks.